Live for you. I'm Adam Moslem. We got Chuck Mockler and Will Updike. It's season 2, episode 61. Coming up on today's show, we'll give you an update on where the Clippers stand in their own version of March Madness. We'll also talk about the Blazers mini series coming up Wednesday and Friday, both games in Portland. Let's start things off with this. Chuck, how are we doing?
I don't know. I'm still pretty upset about everything that happened. Not everything. The main things we keep seeing over and over happened again. But it was really nice today. I went for a nice little walk before we're doing this live, which I think helped me cool down. But I was fired up last night. I was pissed, and now I think I'm more just angry.
Big Will, how are you feeling?
About this Clippers team?
Just in general, but they may cross over.
I mean, like in general, I'm doing all right. Spent way too long at the dentist today. It's just becoming a recurring thing in my life.
This dentist is like, this is horrible.
I'm not gonna name names. All right, I'm not gonna name names because I'm sure they're lovely people. They just
not good dentists.
When you think an appointment at a given time, it's usually not an hour later or more than an hour later, in my experience. But yeah.
Did you have to take a number like the DMV?
No, you just wait in silence, and then you ask multiple times. But aside from that, I'm doing all right, man. Not pleased with this team. Not happy that we're doing this.
We can sink our teeth into what occurred last night.
Hey, look at this guy.
Oh, by the way, we have another sticker to give out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we have a winner yet for our last sticker that was available, but now we have the Clips Red script here for you in this live as people are starting to join here, I believe. So the Clippers just had their worst loss of the season, and I'm going to say it's definitive. It's inarguable.
Yeah.
How can you not think that was the worst loss when what happened against Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan, that occurred back in November. There were still 60 games left in the season. So let's be honest about this. Losing a game with just 15 games left in that fashion to that team at home, considering what's at stake in the standings, it is inexcusable and beyond baffling that this Clippers team can still have letdowns like this in the 2-1-3 era when so much is riding on this season, which we came into this year saying, hey, it almost feels like a last dance type of situation with this Clippers team. So, Chuck, Will, whoever wants to start things off. I got to talk last night on Clippers Talk Plenty. We weren't able to get Will on, unfortunately, so he's been stewing for a little bit. Why don't we start with Will? Because this tends to be his area of expertise. When it comes to bad Clippers losses, when Will doesn't want to come on post-game because he only wants to come on for a win, when he has to, then that fuse is really lit.
When I'm forced. Look, man, it's ridiculous at this point. And I was talking about this a little bit with you guys the other night. I mean, it's not the coaching. It's like I just don't know how these guys can elect to not show up. And I don't know how, if this is the way you're looking right now, you even think you're getting out of a first round matchup with the Pels, because it ain't happening, buddy. I'm just not seeing it. But aside from that, like, yes, there are 15 games. There's still a chance for these guys to turn around the ship and get it right. But I got to be honest, like, from what we've seen, these guys either do not want it. They do not want this. They do not care enough about this, or they already think that they're good enough and they've proved enough and they're ready for the postseason. And truly, after a game like that last night, which is worse? Like, truly, what is worse to you? This team, like, just being so apathetic that they don't even care to win a championship, or they think it's said and done. They've done enough. They're good enough. They can beat anybody, because they're both so wildly disappointing, and the latter is so wildly delusional that I would venture to say that that's even worse than if they were to say at the end of the year when they get bounced in the first round, oh yeah, we just kind of didn't want it that bad. That's
I
how I
think
feel.
that's well put. It feels like one of those two options, and they're both bad ones.
What's the other one? Like, tell me one other option.
I've heard a lot of tired legs talk, but what I will use to push back against that is they were playing with more of a spark once they were down by 29 later in a game where you think they would be more gassed. But at that point, they actually did
They
show
managed
some
to
fight
play
for a
one good
second.
quarter of basketball.
They got it to 11.
48-minute
It was a
game.
fake comeback. I agree with all of that. I'm just saying, if you're going to blame tired legs, then how were they able to muster up later in a ball game where they should be more tired a little bit of a push? So I don't buy that either. Chuck, where are you at?
I mean, I kind of struggled to make the outline for this episode because there's only so many times I feel like I can read quotes from Ty Lue about how the team needs to play harder, Paul George talking about having more intensity and pride, and Kawhi saying, "Oh, the guys are saying it, but it's time to do it." It's just the same thing. It's the same issues 213 has had. Ty Lue got pretty specific with it when asked by Justin Russo, who did a great job asking a fairly one of the more difficult questions you'll ask Kawhi or Paul George, right?
Wearing sunglasses for sure.
While wearing sunglasses.
Maybe the most difficult question you could ask.
Can we need to ask Russo? Can you DM him and ask him if we can show that picture? Because it is so great.
Terminator Russo was out?
Oh, Terminator Russo was out, dude.
He was back?
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Justin Russo, the fantastic Clippers writer, sometimes has a scenario where he forgets his prescription glasses, so he has to wear his prescription sunglasses, which inside of Staples is very funny. But he asked Ty Lue if his confidence in the team sealing waivers and all that. And Ty Lue got pretty specific. It's like, no, if you're the low man, be the low man. When the shot goes up, you have to box out. But this goes to Will's point. This is simple stuff. There's not like a scheme issue. It's not like it's too complicated or we're using this new terminology. Like, we're saying basic things over and over that the team isn't doing. And the roster is constructed how it's constructed. If people are mad about how the roster is constructed, I think there's much more immediate things to be upset about.
Doesn't it start with just effort and doing the little things right and just playing hard before we get to any personnel issues for what might be happening? It's one thing if they were doing all this or they were doing all the right things and they just weren't able to get over the hump. Then you could maybe zero in on some flaw in the roster. But they're not even doing the basic fundamental things of basketball. Like Coach Lue also said, crack back. If Big Zoo's going for a block, then you have to crack back. Like, box guys out. What are we talking about? There's 15 games left.
And you look at the stats from last night, right? 31-11 in fast break points, 48-30 in points in the paint, 32-17 in assists, which is insane. That is complete dog shit, for lack of a better term. I know Norm was out. Someone in the chat's asking any update on Norm. No real update on Norm. But losing Norm really shows how little depth this team has for that game.
I do think there's a level of professionalism with Norm because of how tough he's been and how hard that he plays, that it is more than just losing one guy. But no one guy is fixing what's going on with the Clippers right now. I keep hearing from people, oh, they're missing Russ's energy. It's like, guys, they were 3-5 coming out of the Grammy road trip with Russ. They gave up the 21-point comeback to the Lakers with Russ. To act like that would change everything for the Clippers right now is completely faulty at best and a flimsy argument. It makes zero sense. Like, I think it could help, of course, but it's not about one guy right now. It's about this team playing terribly at the worst time of the season.
Will, where are you at with this take from Adrian Rivera, which I like? Did Coffee playing well? Were they gonna make an acquisition and Coffee started playing well?
I'm so sorry. Like, I appreciate the question. I think all this roster stuff is fucking nonsense. We have 4 Hall of Famers. Figure it out. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, we have enough top end talent. We should be good for the playoffs. But if this is the version of what we're getting, like, no, it doesn't matter. Add whoever you want. Add DeJounte Murray. Add whatever ridiculous person that we can't actually get due to the salary cap things. And I don't think it matters. I just don't think that it matters.
I see Wami on here saying tired legs or old legs.
Mm.
Regardless, if they're playing harder and bringing more energy later in a ball game, how can that be the issue? I could see if they never were able to get going, you could say, okay, they're just too old. No, they wanted to play harder and they were able to later in a game when they should have been gassed. So no, I'm not buying that. I'm not. I know the schedule's been unforgiving, especially in March, but if they played with half of the effort in the way they played in New Orleans against the Pelicans in a close game against Atlanta, they probably win by 10 or 15. They obviously were playing harder in that game against the Pelicans than they were against the Hawks.
Yeah, very clearly.
They have a T-ball schedule coming up. After 2 days of rest, they have a T-ball schedule. And if the starters are playing any minutes in the fourth quarter in that stretch of games, like, I guess we're a little thin right now, so it might just be out of necessity. But like, if these are come from behind games, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say.
I used a term in our group chat, the Clips and Dip group chat, that I've never used to describe the Clippers before, ever. Will, even when we were doing shavings, our first Clippers podcast, I never use it. They're posers. They're posers right now. That's what it feels like. It's the fake comeback, right? A couple games ago, Paul George made those threes. I think it was like against the Bucks or something like that, where it was like, great. He went.
He is playing much better offensively.
Totally. The offense, but nothing's happening on the other end. It's like the offense is there, but now the defense is bad. And
I don't think the offense is there. I don't think it's there at all.
That's
I
fair.
thought last night was miserable offensively. To me, it was the same process as the game against Reggie Jackson and DeAndre Jordan. Everything was just Kawhi ISO early when he had 17 points in the first quarter, and they still were down by 2. And then once Kawhi wasn't hitting or not in the ball game, they got down big right away. They hardly ran anything. They weren't getting into the paint at all. They had, I think, 2 points in the paint total, or 2 shots taken in the paint total in that third quarter. Like, everything was just swinging the ball around the perimeter, and Atlanta was daring them to shoot. Their coverage was good because the Clippers didn't get 2 on the ball. They didn't get mismatches. They weren't working for it until very late in the ball game when they actually started cutting hard, when they actually started driving hard to the basket. Like, they were so lackadaisical early on. It was tough to watch. It felt like a regression to back to where they were early on with James Harden.
Zoo had 1 field goal attempt, which I know Adam has to absolutely make your blood boil. That shit is insane.
You're looking for easy buckets from a team that doesn't get enough of them, doesn't get enough shots in the paint at the basket. You have Ivica Zubac. Clint Capella was good yesterday, but they made things way too easy on him. He's still older. Big Zoo should be able to exploit some of those mismatches, and they didn't even give him the basketball. They played like a team that's freezing Zoo out right now, when Coach Lue just said before that game in Chicago, we're going to get him the basketball more. Since then, I want to say he maybe has taken less than 10 shots in the last 3 games total. Is that possible?
It's 11.
So 11. Are you kidding me? They made a concerted effort to get him the ball more, and he's taken 11 shots the last 3 games, and you want him to be the last line of defense all the time and make up for everybody else's mistakes along the perimeter, and you're not going to give that guy opportunities on offense? I just don't get it. It keeps happening. And I know a lot of it yesterday was just James Harden didn't look right. He started 0 for 7. He looked slow out there till later on in the fourth quarter, and he's the engine and catalyst to their offense. If you take away James Harden, which is what I've been saying all season long, is a little bit worrisome that he may not be the second most important scorer on the Clippers, but he is probably the second most important player because he gets them into their offense. He initiates things. So if you stop him, do you stop the entire machine? And that's what it looked like last night. to some degree. And then it was just Kawhi ISO, give me the ball, get out of the way. It looked very similar to that Denver game against Reggie and DeAndre Jordan outside of the pick and roll down the stretch where they beat the Clippers when I think they were down 10 heading into the fourth quarter. But this game last night was miserable on both ends of the floor.
And where, like, Clippers are a game out of fifth. Like,
Hey guys,
so
Russ is not
frustrating?
changing things. Like, one guy is not changing things, saying they're missing his energy over and over again. They were 3-5 the first 8 games out of the Grammy road trip with him. They blew the Lakers game with him. It's not about one guy right now.
So what,
Sorry,
like,
Chuck.
no, you're fine. Completely valid and correct take. I wish it was one guy, right? Wouldn't that be great, I guess?
Yeah, it's just so overly simplistic that it kind of bothers me because so much is going wrong with this team. And to just say, this is it. If they had this one guy right now, because he goes out there and plays with passion and
he was there, to be fair.
Yeah,
he was there.
It's not that simple. I'm sorry.
So Clippers are a game out of fifth now. This is what's so frustrating, kind of what I was talking about, kind of looking at the outline, is like, how do you fix this? We just have to hope that guys care on that night, and then we hope that happens again, and then we hope that just becomes habit. Because, like, right now, I think I said this on the last live or something, like, when you're a 500 team, you play up and you play down, right? Like, that's kind of how we've felt since, the Grammy trip, really, since that got over with. Like, Will, do we just have to hope that they do it, basically?
Yeah, like, I mean, they're just saying the same things again and again. Like, and like Paul George's quote about like a team without an identity. It's like, what? So what was, you had an identity for a period of time. You won 9 straight. You had a great road trip. Can't you just go back to that? Did you drop that? Did you drop that ID card? Just go pick it up. Go back to the DMV. Get it reprinted.
They were just doing a bit. They were just doing a bit when they won those 9 games in a row. It was just a bit, guys.
Honestly, though, even when they were rolling like that and won 26 of 31, what was their identity? Really damn talented? Like, what was their identity? When Kawhi comes out and is saying after wins, we're getting by too much on talent and not enough on execution. Well, now they need to get by on execution. And even in a game against Atlanta, when they have the talent disparity in their favor, it doesn't matter because they're playing like a team that doesn't seem to care out there, that can go through the motions and feel like what Will was talking about earlier, that they can, I guess, just flip a switch. It was talked about last night by Paul George a little bit. We've speculated, do they think they're this team that can just flip a switch and just figure it out when they want to? Apparently, I don't know any other explanation.
It's so frustrating. And so, like, this is I tweeted this out yesterday. It's like, it's just not, you can't project what this team's going to do in a 7-game series. We have no idea what this team will look. I mean, we have some idea as of 5:50 p.m. on March 18th. I don't like the idea of what I think we'll see in a 7-game series. But if this team doesn't have home court advantage, I don't.
Well, I mean, best case scenario, they're only having home court advantage for the first round anyways.
Right.
So, I mean, it would suck. It would obviously not be ideal, but it's kind of like,
it seems more so we're going to be 5.
It seems more so we're going to be 5. But is 4 and 5 that big of a difference?
Yes.
I mean,
for home court, so for this team, because apparently we like need to.
They don't look that good at home, though. Like, it doesn't matter.
But okay, I will agree that it maybe on the whole, it doesn't matter totally. But
they had one chance to get out of this matchup, which is
I would like it to be easier for them.
It's a really bad match in the first round.
Agreed.
And an even worse matchup in the second round, assuming Denver takes 1, which they have the easiest remaining schedule, feels pretty likely.
They may, but the OKC Thunder, they do have the tiebreaker against them right now, and what they're a game up on them. It's still possible OKC finishes number 1. And then the Lakers bounce them in the first round, and you have home court against the Lakers for whatever that means if you got past the first round yourself. I still think having home court against the Pelicans could be the difference.
They definitely
When-
need it for sure to have
They-
any chance.
Because it would also be even more deflating just falling all the way down to 5. At least if you hold on to 4, you can say we were able to keep them at bay and keep them a little bit behind us, which means you played somewhat better down the stretch of the season with 15 games left. They need it. They need 4. They need to win maybe the next 4 games right now.
Hey, to go 4-1 in the stretch that we talked about when we did the live on Saturday before this all went to shit even more.
I asked this question in our chat before, like, are there too many personal individual agendas going on with the team? Like when a team doesn't play together the way they haven't post Grammy road trip, you start to wonder these things. Like there's contracts up in different areas. There's a guy who basically was able to get minutes by using the media as an outlet for his frustrations. I don't know if that's a great thing that he was rewarded minutes because of that in PJ Tucker. That could set the wrong example to certain
I don't think it
guys.
was because of that. I think it's because we were like severely shorthanded and needed something.
I hope.
I mean, how many minutes did Tyson Plumlee play last night? How many minutes did those two guys get? And I'm not saying he's been the problem of why they've lost the last 2. PJ has actually played decently, especially in that game against the Pelicans.
They combined for like just over 13. They combined for just over 13 and a half minutes to PJ's 20, nearly 21.
They looked like a team last night. I don't believe this because everybody seemed to like each other, maybe too much sometimes. I don't know. But they played like a team last night that didn't want to play together. They've looked like that at times.
Yeah, they look incredibly frustrated with each other.
They play like a team that doesn't get along last night. That's what it looked like out there.
And that's what the offense looks like right now. It's like, here, why don't you take it? Just take your turn.
Well, in the defense,
I don't think that's what it is, but
Dime Dropper, shout out Dime, had a take on Twitter that I liked. He said, "You guys know I'm the biggest Terrence defender on the app, but as he's been saying all season, he doesn't think that your best point of attack defender on your championship team can be Terrence." Which I think is pretty fair. Kawhi is our true best. He hasn't guarding the ball as much the last few months. Then the Lob the Jam the Pod, part of our parent corporation, said, although Terrence is all right at point of attack, he's the most physical of the Clippers' other guards, but he's not great. Couple that with the fact that the Clippers don't have any physical athletic wings as low men, and you have a lot of rollover responsibilities that feel like they fall on Kawhi and PG. And I think maybe we had that comment about the old or the tired legs. And I think this goes into maybe trying to save some of that using the soft switching and all this stuff that's been really frustrating.
We got you James Harden to take a load off. Yeah. We got rid of a bunch of wings to take a load off, you guys. Like, I just don't, what else do you want us to do? What more do they want?
Yeah. That's the like.
We just gotta add the Jokic stopper, and then then PG, Kawhi, and Harden will be fine.
But that's like, what more do we need, or what more do they want? Has been like the thesis a little bit of when things are going poorly for this 2-1-3 era. We tried all the point guards.
I think we've exhausted.
We got Russ.
I think we've exhausted every combination of possible roster moves around these two guys
to get overall.
And not that this one can't work, and not that none of them could have worked. I mean, obviously, I think 21, things could have been a very different story. And this, I don't think that the roster is the problem here. I mean, I think it contributes to it. Some of the personalities, perhaps, or as Adam said, some of the agendas. But they got to figure this. They got to figure this shit out.
It's effort. How many times have we heard the word effort over the last week from this team post game? Paul George has said it every time. Kawhi said it last night. Coach Lue said something to the degree of, it's a consistent effort where we're not playing hard enough for 48 minutes, which I would say is more accurate. They just come and go with it. That's been the 2-1-3 era.
Flashes of the levels. Yeah, totally.
The last live we did, it was mostly me and Will. Chuck came in for about 10 minutes or so. I talked about my theory on why, they seem to have these letdowns. And I think it's because there's a double-edged sword to having all these comebacks. And it is that you think you can flip a switch and turn things around, and you've gotten too damn comfortable being down in games because, well, it's worked out for them for the most part. But it's a really bad habit, especially in the regular season. Just choosing when you feel like playing hard is not championship stuff whatsoever. I'll say this, though. Some of this can be rectified by one thing that has gone against them over the last 18 games post-Grammy road trip where they're 8-10. They are shooting just 35% from three over this time.
Ugh.
That sample is getting larger. I saw, in the Chicago game where they shot 50% from three, I said, okay, here it comes. They're going to have a little wave of games now where the Clippers are able to shoot lights out because they are overdue. But it hasn't happened now. The last couple, it hasn't looked like that. Still waiting. So is that just shooting variance, or is it because they're not running their offense well enough to get as many open shots as they were earlier in the season?
I'm thinking it's more of the latter than it is just like, oh, now everybody's shot isn't working. It's the quality of the looks that are being generated.
It's taking so long to get into the offense still. Every single person, if you watch 10 games of the Clippers this year, or if you just watch the last 10 games, if you had not been watching the Clippers, you could see a very clear issue is when the ball stops and people just kind of wait, be that for the pick and roll or be that to even give it to Kawhi to just clear somebody out. It's taking too long. The offense is just taking too long, which makes and Ty Lue's talked about it. Ty Lue, if you want coaches to be more transparent about how teams are playing, Ty Lue has been wonderful with the media the last couple of games, which is frustrating because they're playing so poorly that Ty Lue feels like he has to call these specific issues out, right? Getting the offense faster, knowing you're the low man. That's not a veiled thing. Anyone who's hearing that quote, if you're on the team, should hopefully feel some type of way about that. That's what's been so frustrating. So it's getting into the offense quicker. It's just giving a shit more. It's God.
And it's so obvious when they take their time, when they don't take a shot within the first 12 seconds. What he's talking about with pace isn't about being a great coast-to-coast team or getting in transition and getting a bunch of fast break points. It's just playing hard in your half-court sets. It's just doing things harder. It's moving quicker there. Now, I will say this. I'm just pulling up because I'm wondering about this three-point shooting and how fluky it could be. In their last 17 games, I don't know why it's giving me 18, but they are last in wide open threes, a defender 6+ feet away. That seems a little bit fluky. That's not just them not getting into their offense. They're missing wide open threes. They're at, let's see here. I have 33.6% on wide open threes, a defender 6+ feet away.
How many per game are they getting?
That's
pretty. That's going to upswing.
Their frequency is 16%, but that's about what it was all season long on those shots. It's within 1% of that. So I don't know. That should change. It should. It doesn't fix everything, but 3-point shots starting to fall for a team that relies on them is meaningful.
I want to point out this very funny comment from Alfredo Rodriguez. Do we think this is the issue? It's nobody taking risks for fear of getting ejected. Clippers were 35-17 before Ty Lue's ejection, 6-8 after. Do we think the Clippers should try and get ejected more to see if that rights the ship?
Something to think about for sure.
Have we considered putting someone on Zoo's shoulders? Could Xavier Moon get on Zoo's shoulders? They could change.
Yeah, have six guys out there.
I do think it's worth talking about why the same message and the right message and everything that Coach Lue is saying is spot on for what they need to do isn't being received.
Yeah.
Why is it still not happening? Is there a lack of leadership with the players in the locker room outside of the coaching staff? Like,
There's a lack
what?
of accountability for sure. Like
Somewhere,
I
100%.
just I don't know. Like I just don't know how you make the same mistakes again and again and again. And there's and you could look in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm accountable for what I do on court.
Yeah.
I don't understand how guys couldn't be more inspired with how hard Kawhi was playing in the first quarter.
And he's got his contract signed. Kawhi is set too. Like Kawhi has his shit locked up and figured out.
And he's the only one on this team who's done something.
No
disrespect to PJ Tucker, obviously.
No disrespect to PJ Tucker.
Norm.
Edward has a good
Norm.
point here. Once Kawhi starts guarding the other team's best player night in, night out, good things will happen. Hope that happens in the playoffs. It has to. I don't know.
I'll say this for people thinking that what happens now is going to translate into the playoffs. It's not necessarily the case. Just going off, okay, they're playing bad now. The playoffs are getting closer. That means this is how they're going to look in the playoffs. They did not look good at the end of last season. And then in game one, they did give full effort for every possession out there against the Phoenix Suns. They look like a different team. They did flip the switch. So I don't want to completely discount that possibility since we did see this last year.
The switch can go the other way, which, I mean, it is a switch, right? It does theoretically get flipped.
They looked more consistently inconsistent last year, and they still found the switch once game one started and things tipped off in Phoenix.
They'll have some rest.
That is true.
Coming up, we're going to talk more about the state of the Clippers. We're going to talk about the Clippers' opportunity to start good habits up in the Pacific Northwest. If you're watching this on the stream, thank you for hanging out. Got like 300 people in this thing. That's a good time. If you're listening, thanks for listening. We're going to put this out as audio too. So if you are enjoying this on audio, the ads have been loud for some people. If that's been your case, go ahead and turn it down. We're talking Clippers versus Blazers coming up after these loud ads in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Welcome back into Clips and Dip. This is kind of our Clips State of the Union. Is that fair to say?
I think that is a perfect way to put it.
But we'll also talk a little bit about the Clippers taking on the Blazers in a little back-to-back. Well, not a back-to-back, but they're just playing them twice, head-to-head. But yeah, where are we at?
Series.
Do you think they can split this series?
Sadly,
yeah.
yeah.
I think they could
all day.
possibly go 500 against the Blazers?
I've been waiting all day to say that joke. Very sorry. It was a very long day yesterday. Brogdon's still out. Jeremy Grant has a hamstring issue. DeAndre Ayton recently revealed that him sleeping on an air mattress is why he had a bad start to the season, which is very funny.
Doesn't he have like did he get a max extension?
Yes, he has enough money for a bed.
There's no reason to ever have an air mattress.
No.
You could pay someone to drive a U-Haul wherever you go, like just when you leave the house with a bed inside of it.
He didn't know how. He didn't have a bed. You know what I like to think? I think he was on an air mattress, but he didn't blow it up. I think
like time he couldn't get out of his driveway, so he couldn't come to so he couldn't come to a game.
So this is who the Clippers are playing.
Unleavened air mattress.
We just want to see some good habits, right? Like I don't know what else to say.
Play
Hope
hard.
they're locked in.
Play with heart.
Now we just feel like Doc. Now I feel like everything Doc was saying on the sideline of telling people to play hard was actually all they needed to hear.
We have to be us. That's something he would say a lot.
All the time. We got to play our game.
What,
no adjustments
what
in
is
the second half, by the way.
like, their game is getting into their offense and starting things off with James Harden, period. They either get back to the high pick and roll, running it consistently with he and Ivica Zubac, which means getting Big Zoo involved like he was when he was getting like 13 and 11 over a month and a half when the Clippers team looked like a force offensively when they were the best offense in the league. It starts there. Paul George was playing like Michael Porter Jr. on steroids with his hot shooting and catch and shoot stuff. Kawhi Leonard was getting his buckets. Everybody was touching the basketball. That's it. Because right now, I would love to just be able to say, oh, the offense is great and they can just focus on the defensive end because they are 26 defensively last 18 games post-Grammy road trip. But I think it starts offensively for them. Like that is what gives them a chance to be a championship team. The defensive personnel, it's true about Terrence Mann, but I still think there's enough there to be a great defense when they want to be. That will figure itself out eventually if they're playing hard. But I think they need to see shots fall.
Yeah. I hope it falls. I mean, there's so much shit
or
wrong.
fire shots wildly in the air.
Have they considered doing that? You talked about the offense, and you're right. They do need to have the offense to be better. The Blazers are so bad that this feels like a chance to get right? Like
I said T-ball games.
Yeah.
Like
They've been
it's not
with it.
getting it.
They've
It's
been-
not it cannot get any easier than this unless you were to get to play the Wizards at home 2 times or something. Like
this team to just jump off that T-ball reference. Right now, this team is the kid who hits the tee and not the ball. This team is the kid who hits the tee and not the ball. And then the coach has to jog out there and be like, hit the ball. Ty Lue is the coach in both these scenarios. I have a not a high five, but I do have a clip, Adam, if I can borrow the trademark.
Go for
high
it.
five.
Lord knows I wasn't pulling any clips after last night.
I put on the breakdown, was it too depressing? And you didn't even respond.
I'm sorry.
Which,
it was too depressing to respond.
It was too depressing. I get it. So here's what we got here. Just the title is What a Piece of Shit Effort by James Harden. Thank you, Will. I'm going to make this full stream. What a bizarre defensive effort from LAC tonight from literally the opening tip. Quite concerning with the playoffs a month away. Just watch James Harden here. He's the blurry man in the number 1 jersey. Just watch this. It's like the most Olay thing. Like,
he funneled him towards his big man. What do you mean?
Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you, Jeremy.
He did
Mormon.
his part.
Problem
Jeremy
is,
Mormon, this is right on so many levels.
That stuff was happening, though, even when they were playing well. James Harden is going to have some possessions like that against somebody like DeJounte Murray. It's not good, but you counter it because your offense is so god tier with him that it more than makes up for a couple of those per game.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
God, it all sucks right now.
It's bad.
It's bad.
And it considering how that game started, that was second quarter, like that's pretty awful because they at least came out to start the second half much more connected defensively. Like they were making an effort. They were playing harder. It was way too late for that. And the offense never really truly turned around. So it didn't matter, but they should have been giving that effort early on in the second quarter.
Yeah. Someone's asking if they can see that play again. No, you cannot. We're never going to do that. It's on LA Clips Film Twitter. Go to it.
We burned the digital tape.
Yeah, I burned a lot of digital tape last night. Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at stats for the Pacers. They're 23rd in pace. So they don't get a bunch of possessions. So it's not like they're going to maybe try and run the Clippers around. Scoot's coming off the bench. Do you want to hear who their starting lineup was last game?
Yeah. Brogdon's out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Delano Banton, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Chumani Kamara, Chris Murray. Anthony Simons can get
I've
hot
heard a
against
few
the
of those
Clippers.
guys.
We've seen Anthony Simons do damage against the Clippers.
Yes.
With this, the thing that sucks, we have to consider this now. We have to consider these much more real possibilities. That this might happen.
Every opponent right now knows how bad the Clippers are playing as well, guys. Like the tape is out, the book is out on them. They're not playing hard. They're one of the worst defenses in the league over the last month or so. Everybody knows, like, we have a chance to beat this team and get what could look like one of our best wins of the season against them, considering where they are in the standings as opposed to us. They're getting up for these games. The Clippers, they've thrown the red meat out there. Go get them. They're not good. They gave up 30 fast break
I
points.
like they chummed the waters.
They chummed the waters is good.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
30 fast, almost 25% of the points scored by Atlanta were fast break points.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And now, if Norm can't play, which again, no real update on Norm's leg, the bench is incredibly suspect. We haven't talked about it, but Bones was not good against the Hawks. He's had a couple down games. I would like to see him play better. I know the skeleton key holder would absolutely love to see Bones playing better, but he's been a little off too. Everyone's been off.
I would say the way Bones played yesterday, as opposed to the Pelican games, where the Pelican game, he didn't look great. He had some up and down moments. His effort didn't look good either, which is pretty alarming for a guy getting this opportunity.
Well, it's contagious though.
Starting,
like it's contagious though. I mean, how is a guy who is like in his, I mean, he's not in the start of his NBA career, but he is on this level of team, and to be this much in the rotation, like if that's the energy that you're receiving and that other people are putting out, like you're supposed to be the tone setter. Like I just think that that's maybe an unrealistic expectation.
Well, yes,
I feel the same way about Terrence. I feel the same way about Coffee. Like, yes, ideally, of course, those guys come in, they can provide some energy, they can kind of turn things around, but it's a lot to lift up the collective weight of everyone, especially when you're in that position and the guys who don't give a shit are in that position.
Completely. He fell in line based upon how the stars were playing on the team, or some of the, veterans, and how little effort they were giving. So Bones, he's going to do the same thing. But I will say, with him and James Harden both playing that bad at the point guard position, that's how you see an offensive performance like that from the Clippers yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally understandable. I see.
And his bad game yesterday was completely different than the game he had against the Pelicans, I would say.
Yeah. New ways to have bad games. Fun. Good shit we're finding out.
What's Darius Thornwell?
Man, Clippers have really been in the lab on this one.
Bro, let them cook these shitty performances to bounce back from. Yeah, man. I want them to put up like 155 points both nights here. It wouldn't get me back into their good graces, but I would at least go, hey, good stuff.
Yeah, I want it to be like the Harlem Globetrotters.
They can't do anything. Like, they're in a no-win scenario these next two games, because it's like you should blow this team out twice.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, it's just gonna be like what are we doing here?
I think even if they were playing well, these 2-game miniseries and how they have looked, it can be difficult, even against bad teams, just because you're playing the same team and it feels like it's a little mini playoff game tape. We're studying the same habits from one game to the next. That's a unique situation now in the NBA with these 2 straight games against the same opponent. So saying that, I think it could have been somewhat difficult if the Clippers were playing well, does not make me feel good about their chances of getting the sweep and feeling like it's an automatic just because it's Portland. Seeing the same team 2 games in a row is not that easy.
Yeah.
Simons goes off in one of those games, and he can sink them with the way they're playing.
Yeah. But God damn. I feel like we generally talk about how much shorter the runway is getting all the time, and it is
we're in that weird.
It is rapidly.
They need a Harrier jet. There's not enough runway for.
We're on those weird TV specials about the most dangerous airports, and we're at number 4 right now. Every game that gets closer, that we creep up to that weird. There's like an airport somewhere where like you land like on the opposite slope, which is like feels like where the Clippers are at.
It's that part in the film Pearl Harbor where they're practicing taking off shorter and shorter.
Yeah. Oh my God. Rock asks, is Musa so bad he can't even get a try in year 2? Yes. Right? I don't know. That changes nothing.
Yeah,
I think it might be a little late.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's so bad, but they do have regardless of how well you think they're playing right now, they do have veteran bigs in a rotation that should be getting minutes over him. It's been weird, the Tice Plumlee minutes.
That
up
has
and
another
down.
question mark too. That's something we talked about a little bit last time we did a pod together, but like the backup center situation is so weird. The small ball 5 lineups suck. And now our backup center situation is like just kind of a crapshoot, which does not feel good.
I mean, like I guess that stuff, I feel like you still like the versatility for, theoretically the versatility of some of those matchups. So I can kind of get with or understand that stuff not being set in stone. It's just really tough because both Plumlee and Tice have had some stretches where they have really not lived up to the moment.
Can I play some audio also from something on Twitter that I posted? I want you guys to react to it from something Coach Lue said last night.
Oh, it's basketball related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a song.
It's not a song. Can we hard pivot real quick? I found a bop I want to play.
It's not. I'm so happy.
It's definitely not that.
This I pulled from Coach Lue. This was last night, and I thought it was the most interesting thing he said. It's a 30-second clip, and I want you guys to play a Coach Lue interpreter here.
When you have so much talent and you have guys that can do it so easily, they don't understand that your talent is great, but you need the talent's got to be for the team as well. And so those are important. Like, just because you work out hard individually and you do things hard individually, like, you got to do it for the team. And so we do it, and it's just inconsistent. So maybe I got to do something a little different. Maybe it's me. Maybe I got to do something a little different to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do.
So on the front end of that,
bench Paul George.
As I didn't hear any of the audio, but he's talking about individual play versus team play, sacrificing for the betterment of the team. Like, you can do all the individual workout stuff you want. Are there too many guys like that on this team that, are isolated? And that has led to, it's almost like, I don't know, some tacit locker room issue. Like, it's not outwardly obvious they like each other, but they're not connected.
It just didn't look like that. Like, I just don't understand. Like, I mean, I guess losing just sucks and not playing well sucks. And I think that I think that can have a locker room, go to shambles. It just hasn't looked like this all year. You know what I mean? I think that's what's so troubling about this stint is it's kind of like, well, what the hell happened? Because you clearly had something figured out. Sure, there was some easier marks in the schedule. Sure, it wasn't as compressed as the month of March is, but still, just on court and like personnel wise, it seemed like you had this kind of stuff worked out.
What about the back end of that, Chuck, where he says maybe I have to do something different, basically? What do you think that would entail?
I don't know if it would. I don't think it can come to this, but in my demented mind at 6:20 p.m. the day after the Clippers were down 30 points to the Hawks without Trae Young, a fucking starting lineup change or something crazy. Like, I don't know what's going to get it through these. The one guy I'm talking about is Paul George. Like, what's going to get through these guys to be like, you need to start playing. You need to do what the fuck you're supposed to do. Like, and you're not doing it. And your other guy has everything's locked up contract wise. Like, you should maybe want to play a little more locked in. All this, I don't know. I don't think it will happen. I'm not saying that, or it's not like we've heard anything or anything like that. But what else can it be?
What's the most likely?
To me, it sounds like he's been beating his head against. He feels like he's been beating his head against a wall, and he's not really sure what more or what else to do.
He sucks. Start him. Put PJ in there instead of Paul George, just to send a message. Just lose a game to the fucking Blazers. Just to be like, is this what y'all want? Because this is where we're at. I don't know. I hate that I had to say that, but what do you think it means, Adam? Like, it's like there's not much it can mean, because it's like maybe I need to do something different. Like,
it definitely seems like a bit of a shakeup or tougher practices again.
Like that
Are we
Airbud
going to
scene.
go back to gassers like in the training camp until you guys get the message? Like, are some people have said, Coach Lue's too buddy with this team. He's too nice. He's too much of a player's coach. I don't know if that's true or not, but he is more calm and measured, and even said post game, "I don't overreact to S." Basically, he had to cut himself off from
Say
swearing.
shit on the pod, Adam. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't overreact to shit. And he hasn't, and there's benefits to that. Are we seeing a downside right now where they maybe do need someone to light more of a fire underneath them? And that's what he's talking about there. Maybe he needs to be more stern with his approach.
More hockey lineup shifts, 5 guys at a time. Get everyone off the damn court.
It's not like we haven't seen guys get pulled early before when they're down big and starters just to get complete, like against Atlanta in the something was born out of this night game when they were down 22. That's what happened. They pulled all the starters. He eventually put them back in late and they helped get him the victory. But man, I wouldn't be shocked if they got off to a slow start in the first quarter against the Trailblazers. Yeah, you see some wholesale changes.
So who's your Kawhi Leonard player of the game pick for this Pacific Northwest miniseries?
I'm going to go bounce back for Terrence. Return to form.
Back for Terrence. Okay. Adam?
I'm going to go with Ivica Zubac. Get him the damn ball. Get him opportunities on offense, because if you are getting him the ball, that likely means you're running pick and roll with him and James Harden, and that's when the Clippers were at their best.
All right, Zoo. I'm going. It has to be James Harden. I know he's been playing a lot, but let's see the great assist to turnover ratio. Let's see some pick and rolls initiated sooner. Maybe guide your guy into the big man a little more committedly, like that clip we watched a little bit ago. Yeah, and then just I hope Norm's okay also. We're not going to talk about it too much before we get more news on it, but coming up, we're going to do one more ad break, and then we're just talking the sticker giveaway if you missed it and the March Madness update. The ads have been a little bit loud for some people if you're listening, which we thank you for listening, and we thank everyone for watching. Go ahead and turn it down. We got ads, and then a quick March Madness overview in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back in. It's Clips and Dip. I'm Adam Oslin. It's Season 2, Episode 61 here. After the Clippers suffer their worst defeat of the season, and really have put us in a bit of a tailspin, sky is falling like podcast mode for you guys. If you're listening to this in podcast form, this was a YouTube live. Chicken Little is everywhere at the moment. Yeah. Tailspin. Oh, tailspin. So a March update. Not great. After a nice start, I really thought I needed to change my prediction. I'm like, 11-6, you dumbass. You're going to look like a fool, Adam. And now, are they going to win 11 games in March? They're 5-5 currently. They are 500. Granted, the schedule eases up. Are they going to actually take advantage of it, though? It eased up last night, and they didn't. So, Chuck, how you feeling about the Ides of March as we are in the middle of it now?
I don't like being right about this stuff, but it feels like I was not that it was a galaxy brain take to say that 17 games in a month is hard, but they got to do what? They got to go 5-2 to get to 10-7, which is what I said I want. I said I wanted 10-7 in good process. We are miles away from that right now. Will, do you still think they can win their next 4 to win the 4 out of the 5 that we talked about last time?
I mean, I think they can. Will they?
Will they?
That I'm not so sure about.
Yeah, I hope they stay. I just hope they stay the 4 seed, I guess. I've adjusted. My expectations have been beaten down into let's just stay the 4 seed after this month.
There's no reason to think that what happened last night is finally the breaking point and they're going to turn things around, because we've said that a few different times with this team needing to have that wake-up call.
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
But I do think
there were a time to be born, for something to have been born. It's crying on the floor in its own afterbirth right now.
I just would love if they had, or they used this as an opportunity to give that one last kick in the ass, to have a sense of urgency and play with some desperation right before the playoffs start with 15 games left. It would sure be nice if they came out and just slaughtered Portland in both games.
Yeah, 300 points over these next 2 games. Spread it on.
It's possible. We've seen this team at their best this season and what they can do. It is a focus thing. It is it, and because of the situation now where you're just one game up on the Pelicans, can that light a fire? Finally, is that what it is going to take for this team to care for 48 minutes? I don't know.
As Dr. Updike said, it's been born. There is something there. Is it going to end up at, the fire station, or is it going to end up back home? We don't know, but it's an issue. No one in the chat seems confident they're going to go 10-7 over March.
What happened to the guy that said like 15-2? What happened to that guy?
Hey, the undefeaded in March crowd had a good
they're already 5-5, so I don't think we got to pull receipts on that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
we do.
Adam's going to show up at that guy's job.
Do I need to get back to pulling receipts incessantly?
Wait, how about this? You know what happened? The last time, one of the times we had a guest on this show, and then the Clippers went on their own. We need to get Rod back in here. We get Rod back in here the fucking game before the playoff starts. Good luck, rest of the league.
Let us know in the comments if you think Rod will turn this around.
That's 12 dubs.
Have we spared the rod and spoiled the child? Is that what this is?
We might have. All right. Adam, can you break down the sticker giveaway again? Some people might have just hopped in. We're giving away a sticker. This will make everything better.
I mean, it is Clippers red.
Right now.
Right fucking now, baby.
Yeah. This is going to be given away in the comment section. Best comment on this episode of Clips and Dip will win this sticker that right now is in reverse, but that's how things work.
Maybe
on the camera. And it's a nice one. Clips in red. So a sign of things to come with those jerseys coming back when they're in Intuit Dome. Kind of a big deal for Clipper Nation.
Find us on Twitter @us, and we'll get you the sticker. Maybe we'll see you at a game. I tweeted last night that they should stop construction on Intuit, which some people had strong thoughts about. But that's how poorly the Clippers were playing. I think it was a fair take at the time.
That's bold.
We're gonna have some double dips. Tear it down. We're going to double dips after the Blazers game, which is always a fun time. Not always a fun time. That's a lie. Hopefully it's a fun time. It's not a fun time when they lose. I hope Will has to go on both and talk about how scoring 200 points in an NBA game isn't something to sneeze at these days.
How about a percentage chance on them getting the Portland sweep?
You want a percentage chance?
Yeah. I want a percentage chance that they win both of these games.
As of March 18th, 6:29 p.m., always timestamp your takes, people.
Or else I will definitely find them.
74%.
Wow, you're way more optimistic than me. I was going to say 60%.
Adam, where are you at?
I mean, I'm going to say 80%, but it still feels low.
Doesn't feel like, that's very low. Yeah, it should be. We should be at 98.
Sad state.
We're going to have double dips after those. Hopefully it's more fun. Episode on Saturday or something like that. The week's moving weird. Thank you to everyone who watched and listened. Will, where can people listen to this if they want to revisit it, audio form?
You could check this podcast out audio version wherever you get your podcasts. If you listen over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you leave us a little rating or review, really help us out. We'd appreciate it. You can also catch us over on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We'll be around.
We will be around. Adam, can we get one? Do you have something in you? You don't have if you're new to the show, usually Adam says a positive thing at the end, but that's been the hardest job lately. What do you got, Adam?
I'll say this. For a team that's having an identity crisis with 15 games remaining, the one thing you can fall back on is things looked pretty damn dire when they lost 6 games in a row and the offense looked completely broken with James Harden, and they pulled out of that and they won 26 of their next 31 games and looked unbeatable. They can still find a way out of this too.
There we go. That's the positivity we needed. We thank you to everyone for hanging out and watching on the stream. We thank you to everyone who's going to listen to this. And we will be back with some mini pods for you after those Blazers games. And as always, let's go Clips.